Hey, Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we have this time is the Harukaze Aogami Super or AS Morado Gyuto 240mm knife. So this line of knives has, and you can see it's very striking in appearance, but it's got a three-layer construction. The center hard core cutting edge steel is what's known as Aogami or Blue Paper Super reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. Heat treats around 63 Rockwell, so they don't take it super hard, but kind of mid hard range for this. Good, kind of a sweet spot for this steel. The construction, as I mentioned, has a soft stainless cladding on either side of that harder core steel, and that cladding has a couple things going on with it. One is it's got a hammered, or what's known as a tsushime finish. Sorry, it took me a minute to pull that term up. Tsushime finish on it, so it's got a kind of a random hammered pattern, and then it also has a kuda-uchi or blacksmith protective coating over the sides and top, the spine here. And they've got kind of a gray sandblasted type finish on the grind, the cladding coming down, and then you can see the polished core steel peeking out from the edge. So it's a really cool aesthetic on these things. And the weights and dimensions can vary on these a little bit. The weight on this particular one is 185 grams or 6.5 ounces. The edge length is right about 250 or a little under that, so it's kind of oversized, so 9.75. This is a pretty big blade. 6.5 ounces, that's pretty light for this size blade. The overall length is just under 400 millimeters or 15.6 inches. Spine thickness, pretty much I measured about 2.1 all the way down. A little hard to measure because you got hammer marks going all the way up to the spine. And the spine itself is just a little bit of slight waviness to it from the hammer marks being all the way up on the sides of the flats of the blade. But I got about 2.1 all the way down. And it doesn't have a ton of taper, but the grind is pretty generous towards the tip. You can definitely see where that kicks in. So what that does is makes the tip pretty thin for performance. And here's the choil shot. So they thin it out pretty nicely towards the edge. The grinds are really well done on this. When you sight down a blade and kind of look at something reflective with some detail on it, you can kind of see where, you know, how clean the grinds are, where there's a lot of dips or waves or difference. And these have pretty clean grinds on them. The blade actually is pretty stiff given the thinness. It's got a little flex in the front half, but the back half is quite stiff. The out-of-the-box sharpness, I'll give it a 5, maybe 6 out of 10. It's pretty sharp out of the box, and you can see they're not bashful about their angle on the sharpening. It's a pretty aggressive, acute edge bevel angle, so they are not bashful about that at all. And AS steel is known to be able to hold that, so that helps your performance. So interesting, nice out-of-the-box edge on these. Let's see here. Blade height is about 49 millimeters, 48.9. These will vary a little bit in height. And the handles are just well done. They're oval, not octagonal. Walnut with a maple ferrule. Really nice fit and finish. Very smooth all the way throughout. Have a little, I don't know if they've got a, I think it's just a nice sand job, but it's almost like they're coated, but maybe they aren't. But just very smooth, well executed, pretty tight install where the tang goes into the handle, and just nice fit and finish. This particular one has some pretty wood on it. The handles are fairly light, so that brings the balance point forward a bit because it's a pretty long blade. So there's your balance point, and for my hands, that's a little bit in front of my pinch grip. So you've got a little bit of weight forward balance bias to it. And for a little bit of, you know, it feels like you got a little bit of a knife in your hand, which you do. It's pretty big, as you can see. Handle circumference, I forgot to mention that. It's about 3 inches, 75 millimeters or around there. There's a good spot for your pinch grip right here where the choil curves into the neck. And so it's a good spot there for a pinch grip. Let's see what else. Let's give our kind of our beauty shot here. So again, this is a very interesting blade from the aesthetics point of view. You've got, it appears to be chiseled kanji. It's a little hard to tell sometimes when they put the KU on after they chisel it, but it looks hand chiseled to me. And you can see the hammer marks. They're all going to be a little random. And you can see the grind coming down. Then there's your edge steel poking through. So each knife is definitely going to be a little bit unique on way the lines line up on the grind and the cladding. So on the left side of the blade, you've got some embossed kanji on it, but just cool looking knives. The cutting profile, let's take a look. AS steel is really good stuff because it's not too hard to sharpen. You know, it's still a good reactive high carbon steel, but it holds the edge very nicely, and it's not unreasonable to sharpen at all. So it's a good combination of edge retention and ease of sharpening. So you can see this doesn't have a lot of flat on it. It's actually got a pretty aggressive belly towards the tip here. I can get, I'm getting all the way up there before the tip wants to start digging in. So I'd say this is fairly curvy. So you can see you've got just pretty much a gentle curve all the way up to the heel as you come. So this is not like going to be a, and your knife might vary a little. The profiles can vary depending on who's making the knife and when and all that. But you can see you could maybe flatten this out a little bit if you wanted to tinker with that edge profile. But that's what it looks like out of the box. Yours could vary just a little bit from this. But just a neat looking knife, great steel, cool package, nice handle. It's a good looking knife. So this is the Harukaze Aogami Super Morado Gyuto 240mm knife.